Hello everyone, this is Miner Bob and I'm here with a new Let's Play series, BattleLore Command. If you follow my blog, the link is in the show notes below, then you know that I love the board game BattleLore. Of all of the games designed by Richard Borg, this was easily the one that I liked the best. It had the right combination of dice variants, range, movement, and tactical options. Unfortunately, what it did not have is a parent to love it. It was originally published by Days of Wonder, the people who make Memoir 44, also by Richard Borg, and Ticket to Ride, but was eventually sold to Fantasy Flight Games. They did not do much with it until they decided to use it as a brand and the basis for a new game set in Westeros. That is Games of Thrones for those not into the book series. In the eyes of most gamers who loved the original game, it pretty much seemed dead at that point. Despite all of that, I played quite a bit of BattleLore, including using the board game engine called Vassal in order to play the board game online with others across the internet. I won the first online tournament for BattleLore with my gaming buddy Chris coming in second. We played a lot of that game, but we always longed for a better gaming experience on the computer. For all that is good about Vassal, it does not know or enforce the rules. The players do. What Chris and I wanted was a version of BattleLore much like Memoir 44 Online, but it never seemed like it would come. Eventually, Fantasy Flight Games produced BattleLore 2.0, which was much closer to the original version of the rules than Battles of Westeros was, but it was not the same. For one thing, it took a whole new background story based on their RuneQuest mythos. In fact, the primary change to the game was that the sides were now asymmetrical. Each side had unique abilities not possessed by the other side. It was a great game in its own right, but I still suffered from not having anyone to game with unless I used Vassal. Then one day, I read that BattleLore 2.0 was going to be ported to iOS and Android and would be very much like what Chris and I wanted, a version of BattleLore 2.0 that played like Memoir 44 Online. You would not have to worry about getting the rules wrong, the game would enforce them for you. So here we are with BattleLore Command. I'm going to start off this series by playing the single player campaign and seeing where it takes me. Hopefully by the time that is done, I will figure out how to play the LAN multiplayer version over the internet, and Chris and I will be able to take up BattleLore once again. I hear that I may have to do VPNs on the iPad or port forwarding on my cable modem. Whatever it is, it doesn't sound pretty. So let's get started by watching the short cutscene which gives the background story of the BattleLore world.
Long ago, our land was peaceful and prosperous. Our forebears were content, and their children flourished. Yet while dark souls walk the earth, tranquility cannot last. One such soul was Lovar, a shaman of the eastern plains, who afflicted a dark metamorphosis upon his kinsmen, and renamed the wretched tribes the Uthuk Y'llan, the children of the locust. The Uthuk were relentless, bloodthirsty, as rapacious as wild beasts, and as numberless as the stars. Lovar unleashed them upon the world, and the world burned. Thousands died by their hands, slaughtered on the field of battle, or sacrificed to their demonic masters. Many stories have been told of that great war, the first darkness, and of the Uthuk's ultimate defeat, but few of them hold truth. Ages came and ages went. The land saw Wykar's betrayal, the rise of the Elder Kings, and the coming of the Dragon Lords. All the while, the tormented eastern plains slept in sun-bleached torpor. No travelers dared venture into that thorny, scorpion-infested wasteland. If they had, we may have learned that an ancient evil yet survived. Oh, if only we had remained vigilant.
Wow, that was one heck of a cutscene.
One heck of a cutscene. Baron Frederick, the Master of Kel, held a deep love for his country and for his people, so when news of the attack on Hernfar Isle reached him, he acted swiftly. So, to start, we basically are given a map and we have two choices of scenarios to play. Essentially, they're the same scenario: stop the enemy from burning down the towns. The difference is in the rewards. Do you get 2 Citadel guards or 2 archers to add to your growing army? Even though I keep hearing that the archer units are not as useful in the board game version, I decided to go with them for this game. Winning the scenario is simple. Stop the Uthuk from burning down the buildings. Essentially, if at the start of their turn they are in a building, they'll burn it down. So you'll get 1 turn in order to push the Uthuk out of buildings after they occupy them. Do that for 6 turns, you win. So the first part of the game is to create your army and then deploy it on the battlefield. What's really interesting about this is that you get a certain number of points, but you still have limits on the number of units of each type that you can have. So here you see that we can have up to 4 archers and up to 4 Citadel Guard. However, you can't buy them all because you don't have enough points. This is really a big change from the original BattleLore game. Well, we seem to have gotten the upper hand on all those exchanges. I like the magic system, called lore, in that it uses a simple point system. Each lore spell card has a cost, which must be paid in lore points. You gain 1 lore point each turn, but each die rolled also has a chance of gaining you additional lore points at the expense of missing in combat. Sort of a little silver lining for whiffing. In addition, you are limited to only playing 1 offensive and 1 defensive lore spell card each turn, so there's no real chaining effects or combinations to worry about. What I have not found yet is a way to easily read the lore spells that the opponent just played, and more importantly, that they still have in play. This is especially true of those lore spell cards that persist effects on the battlefield. I actually learn more by watching these videos, as I can pause and fully read the cards. Another change from the original game is the command and control system. The board game uses a deck of command cards which indicates the number of units that can act in the left, center, and right sections of the board, much like the cards shown here. The difference is that the cards are dealt randomly in the board game, while this version gives you 1 of each type, which you play in any order. When you wish to reuse the cards, you use the refresh command card. You only get to order 1 unit when you do this, but all of the basic command cards become available at the beginning of your next command phase. All in all, a pretty good turn. Wiped out 2 enemy units. Okay, it looks like the dice are hot because I just lost 2 full units too. As you can see, these cards are marked limit once per mission, so use them wisely. At this point, I figure I'm going to get attacked in at least one of the building hexes next turn, so I play Wall of Steel, which effectively halves the number of dice used against you. This turn shows you another difference between the iOS game and the board game. In the board game, when you retreat, you always retreat towards your baseline, but in BattleLore Command, you always retreat directly away from the attacker. This makes it important that you position your attacking troops such that they retreat into the hexes you want them to. Another important change from the board game is that when a unit first retreats, if the attacker follows up and attacks them again, the retreating unit cannot battle back. But as you can see in this example, it does. As you can see, when you order a unit with a status effect, like poison, you're given the opportunity to remove it. Although a fair number of units died, unlike the original board game, most of the mission objectives are not to kill enemy units, but to stop certain effects from being done. In this case, we needed to stop the Uthuk from burning down the buildings, which they would do by starting their turns in a building hex. To be honest, I like these types of objectives in victory condition rather than just kill a certain number of enemy units. Although I aimed this video more at those who have played the board game, especially the first edition, I hope others still might have gotten something out of how the game plays. As it stands, it looks like a great game, and I look forward to playing out the rest of the single-player campaign. My main concern is that either the developer will not update the game to allow multiplayer games over the internet, or that I'll not be able to figure out how to make it happen. If you would like to see more of BattleLore Command, please leave a like, as it really helps me determine what I should focus on. As always, comments are welcome. This is Miner Bob, signing off.